In the spirit of trying to cement myself as a top player on this game, I'm trying to do things a little bit differently, because as Einstein said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So I'm going to embrace the challenge of the dailies each and every week, which should improve me as an all-round driver and also improving my driver rating for those all-important FIA events. But this one is a baptism of fire, as alongside jumping back into the dailies, which carries enough risk by itself, the penalty system has just been adjusted, which, as we all know, usually causes absolute chaos. So let's find out how we get on here, and let's also find out whether it was a mistake deciding to go and do this race or not. Hey guys, Eerie is here. Welcome back to the channel and thank you for choosing to join me here for another video. If this is your first time here and you like watching all sorts of sim racing related content, then subscribe now and hit the bell icon as well so you get a notification for every video I upload and you don't miss a thing. So as always, you join me here in quali. As it is a daily race, this is a detached session from the race itself rather than the FIA format that you're normally used to. I was pretty much learning this track from scratch, as I normally see this track, Dragon Trail Gardens, and run in the opposite direction. As I mentioned in the intro, I was determined to take this on though and be successful here, and to do this I employed my tried and tested method of, well, pretty much copying others. I did this by pulling up the top 10 times, seeing what car the fastest guys are using, choose the one I am most comfortable in, which on this occasion was the Porsche Cayman. I then, as always, make notes of the significant braking points and gearing around the circuit, put myself a ghost on, set it to 0.5 seconds ahead so I can see the lines and give me something to chase. I find putting it ahead makes it easier and it doesn't get in your way at the very start of the lap. And after all of that, we then got to work. And after about 30 minutes of practice, I managed to clock up a 1 minute 37.637. This time was at the time, again, less than a second off the top 10. About 6/10 I believe, which wasn't too bad considering this is not a combo I favour at all. So I decided that was enough practice for this one. We were in good shape here and we took that time into the race. So here we are then, lined up on the grid for this race. In pole position, showing our time was okay in comparison to everybody else. Now it was a slightly weaker lobby as I did this race during the day. That is not to disrespect anyone who was in there, and don't get me wrong, it will still be a big challenge as all Gran Turismo Sport races are. I'm just talking objectively from a driver ranking perspective, and our aim here is to just do a smash and grab on this daily. Get a win here, make up the points we lost at the FIA race so that we can again enter into a top split race for the next round, which I believe was at Brands Hatch. Simple, right? So we'd gotten off to a good start here. We're still in first and felt in control. However, I rode the sausage too hard and round I went, to my surprise that is. I had never seen this happen before. I then obviously get reset and then swallowed up by the pack. And I even got bumped off by another German, twice in 1 week here. And then the new penalty system is going to introduce itself here and I get a 2-second penalty for it. So I'm down to 10th at this point. I do however manage to get up to 9th and then briefly 8th as I get to the penalty gate. But as you can see here, I'm going to end up getting swallowed up by the pack and actually end up, by the time we get to the bottom of the straight, down in 13th place. And as you can see them here, they're all coming through. I'm having to brake early here for the BMW, which is going to give that Peugeot an opportunity up the inside. There's going to be contact as we go down to 13th, and then I get another penalty for colliding with another car. I'm getting a feeling for what this penalty system is all about early doors, and I'm going to give you my initial opinion on it later on in the video. And the reason I'm going to cover that later is because right now I've got enough on my plate. As we serve the penalty here, I'm going to find myself all the way down in 17th place. Quite the fall from grace, from 1st to 17th in only 3 full laps. And the risk I took to come into the dailies here has been realised, and we now have an absolute mountain to climb. To get anything out of this one, I'm going to go into full recovery mode now. I'm going to need to drive aggressively here to try and fight through the field on the remaining laps, because we cannot afford to finish here. It will absolutely devastate our driver rating, and I don't think I'll be able to recover from it, to be honest. But the recovery takes another hit immediately, as I then get yet another penalty. As I touch the back of another car, the German here in 16th, we're in even bigger trouble now, and the chances of a decent result here even less likely. I'm glad to say though, as we have to slam on the anchors again to avoid getting yet another penalty, that this was the last of the penalties we were going to get in this one, and our fight back, once we serve this one of course, can finally begin now. On the next lap here, we are on the back of the group by the time we arrive at turns 3, 4 and 5. The Russian in the BMW goes off, meaning we're up to 16th now. The Greek in the Peugeot is then next, elevating us to 15th. On the next lap here, lap number 6, as we come across the line to start the lap, we're going to take 14th from the Belgian in the Megane. And fast forwarding slightly here, coming into turn 3 once again, the Spaniard in the Beamer goes wide, and as a result, 13th place is ours, which is going to be 12th shortly afterwards, after we get a much smoother exit out of the corner before the straight, overtaking the German in the Toyota. On the very next lap, still coming thick and fast here, 11th arrives here as we come out of turn 2. The Brit is slammed into the wall by the Spaniard, who, as anticipated, and quite rightly to be quite honest, receives a 4-second penalty for that one. Moving further down the lap, coming into the tight right before the straight, I thought he was leaving the door open, so I tried to go up the inside, but nope, he turns in. There is contact. Now, had he not have already had a 4-second penalty, I would have probably given that place back. But because it wasn't going to affect him, I didn't feel I really needed to, and as a result, we have now, through a mixture of more aggressive driving from ourselves and taking advantage of others' mistakes, we got ourselves back into the top 10. Taking a breath. So, good progress for sure, but that isn't going to be enough. If we finish in this position, it is still going to cause absolute devastation to our driver rating, so we need to keep pushing on, and we have a fair few laps left to do some more work here. The next car up, as you can see here, is car number 2, the fellow Brit. Being the driver with the next highest driver rating, I knew this would take a little longer to get past than the others, and after a nice clean bit of battling there, we force them into an error and 9th place is ours. There is a bit of a gap now, as you can see, to the 2 drivers up in front, so it's that time again. As I seem to be saying in every video, I have to get my head down here and go get after them. And after some pushing, we managed to drop the Brit behind, and I'm now on the Greek's rear bumper up in front. Up ahead of that, as you can see, due to a penalty, there are now 3 cars in total in striking distance. So I need to try and make quick work of this Greek here and then get after them. But the Greek wasn't going to make it that easy. He's going to go defensive here into turn number 3, which is then going to make him go wide into turn number 4. But as we arrive into turn number 4, watch his internet bar drop out here and go red. There is contact and he is off. I think the internet had a large part to play in that contact. I didn't get a penalty, so the game obviously didn't think I did anything wrong. However, that's not a great barometer, as the penalty system isn't that great at apportioning blame on this game. But either way, I didn't wait, and we're now up to 8th place. And after that, our eyes are now firmly set on the Italian and the Frenchman up in front, battling away there for 6th place, as you can see. And rejoining the action here on the final lap of this one, the Italian up ahead, whilst battling with the Frenchman, is just going to carry too much speed into this tricky left-hander. He's going to go off. That's going to give us 7th place. And then that lined us up for this. Coming into the final corner here, I'm hoping I can get one more position. I line up the Frenchman coming into the final corner here, and I actually get a great run out of it. But that ended up being too good, and I have nowhere to go and remain behind. Had I caught him just a little bit later, I could have pulled alongside and potentially taken that place off him. But it wasn't meant to be, and after an exhausting fight back after a terrible start, we went from 17th to 7th place. So following that absolutely disastrous race, here are my stats. My driver rating had dropped by 400 points to 60,818, which to be honest I anticipated and could have been much worse. But more importantly, I had dropped down to 79 safety rating, which put me down out of S and into A. I have not been this low in a long time. And if I was to enter the FIAs with this safety rating, even if I did have the driver rating points to make the top split, the SR would bump me straight out and into a lower split. So I had a choice to make. Do I limit the damage and just do the next FIA race with these stats, or do I go again? To try and recover this, but run the risk of things getting even worse. I was torn to be honest, but then as you can see I decided I couldn't allow my SR to remain at that level. I wouldn't get into the top split again, and it would be a rubbish video to share with you guys. So I went again. I'm starting again on pole here. You can see it was much later, as I've in fact changed my socks. Now it was really important to secure the win here, to make up for that last race, and we had a couple of big scares along the way. The first one, whilst being defensive here on lap number 1, I've been working on being less passive with my defending. The car challenged me for the lead, makes contact and then goes off the track. I was expecting a penalty there to be quite honest, which would have put me back into the pack and potentially have the same outcome as the last race we'd just seen. There was another, even bigger scare. Coming out of the penultimate corner, the back steps out and I get an absolute boatload of oversteer. I managed to just about catch it with all the opposite lock I could apply, and then thankfully after that it started to settle down and the rest was pretty plain sailing. I just had to deal with the pressure of 1, leading the race, and 2, not messing up my safety rating anymore. And while I do that, I want to give you my opinion on the new penalty system. Controversially, I quite like it actually, and I'm going to tell you why. Now before I begin, I just want to clarify, where penalties are wrongly assigned, I think that's really poor, and they need to keep working through that, as this issue has been around for far too long and isn't good enough if I'm being honest. They also need to crack it before Gran Turismo 7 arrives. But I must say I do like the severity of it. Within about 2 laps I was scared half to death about hitting another car, and in my view that's the way it should be. Before the whole rubbing is racing quotes start filling the comment section, for me that quote is up there with the if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you are no longer a racing driver. These quotes are often misused and are usually an excuse for an undesirable or reckless move. Plus, it's from a NASCAR film, and this is GT racing. For me, racing is a non-contact sport, and this penalty system is penalising me and making me change my behaviour so much to not want to hit anybody, and it's only the first race that I've experienced it. If it changes my behaviour, it will surely change others, which is exactly what we need to do here to protect the driving standards and try to rebuild the reputation of GT sport, which I fear is becoming viewed in the same way as Forza, which, to be quite frank, hurts my feelings. But that's just my opinion, and I don't expect everyone to agree, so please let me know what your thoughts are on the penalty system down below. I'm keen to hear your thoughts. I also do want to mention quickly, upon reflection, that I'm not at all happy with my moves that I've made in this one, a couple in particular. The German in the McGann with the penalty and the Greek with the internet issues. Apologies both, despite the mitigating circumstances that I mentioned in the video themselves, I shouldn't have put my car in the position for those incidents to happen. I want to bring this up as I always show you guys warts and all. We all make mistakes and I'm the first to admit them, and I want to prove that. And I'm not the kind of person just to make these disappear by editing them out and not show you them. So apologies guys to both of you for those. And again guys, please let me know what your thoughts are on those moves in the comment section down below. So as we cross the line here, as I sorely needed, we got the win here, and this second race is a success. We also, probably more importantly, went a long way to recovering our safety rating. As you can see, we're back up to S at 97 safety rating now, so that should be fine. and the net DR damage has been limited to only 200 overall, and we're currently, after that change, sitting at 61,035 points. So I think we still have a shot, albeit a bit of a longer shot than before, at making a top split for a second race in a row for the next FIA round at Brands Hatch. That race, should we make it, will be the subject of the next video. But until then guys, that is going to be the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do hit that like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks again so much for watching though guys, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.